These two players that we have on the screen right now, they're hoping to have an easy row, maybe they get that 2-0 victory so you do not have to go into that game 3 where anything can happen really. So you want to try and, well, get your strategy together and try to maybe take the first game, and then you can kind of adapt to what your opponent has been doing there and then change it up for the second or potentially third game.
Adaptation is so important, and I think that's what separates a lot of the players from the best of the best. And we're definitely going to be seeing that here on stage as these two players, César Reyes and Javier Valdes, get ready to battle it out for our very first top 8 match.
Yeah, and then for Javier, we can also already see with his t-shirt, yeah, he's been to the Pokemon World Championship before.
Yes.
He's kind of an established player. He's someone who has been around for a while. I remember playing him, I think, in 2016 in some online battles. And yeah, even back then, he was already known for his creativity. And he has a lot of success. He has had a lot of success with that creativity in national and international tournaments. So I would think going into this game, he's probably going to be our favorite here. But then again, we have already also seen Cesar on stream yesterday, and he's shown off how capable of a player he is.
Cesar had a dominant performance yesterday. I believe that was a 2-0 victory when we got a chance to see them on screen. So that maybe means that this is going to be a bit closer than what you're predicting. But you do feel as though Javier has, you know, I guess let's go ahead and talk about Cesar a little bit more here. Look at the accolades that they have under their belts already in 2019. They had a couple of special event championships there, and then the regional finishes and top 4 national. Top 4 NAIC, that's the one that really stands out to me there in 2017.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Cesar really also being a player of an international caliber, I would say, and really showing off that he can compete in different formats. You can see all of these accomplishments are done in different formats. He's played for a while now, and he's coming at us with a team with Amoonguss, Kangaskhan, Xerneas, Lunala, Tapu Koko, and Incineroar. So he's using that Xerneas and Lunala combination that we've seen quite a bit about. Jeremy Rodriguez also using the same combination. However, then the supporting squad, I would say, is quite different for these two teams.
Talk me through that a little bit. So what is kind of the game plan that Cesar is looking at with this team composition that he has?
Well, we haven't really seen Javier's team yet, but generally what you want to do with that is try and get that Xerneas into a position where it can go for Geomancy pretty freely. And the Lunala is there to kind of support that by putting on so much offensive pressure to a lot of the Pokemon that are common in this format. So yeah, with that Z move, Lunala really has the ability to do a lot of damage to basically anything except for like a normal type, like the Kangaskhan or the Incineroar, which is a bulky dark type Pokemon. So there's the synergy between the two, and both of them are really able to do a lot of neutral damage. So they don't need to find super effective targets, because once Xerneas is boosted up with the Geomancy, it just does so much damage anyway. And then as I was saying, the Moonguy's Beam or the Z move of Lunala, they just do so much damage. And then now we get to see Javier Valdes' team, and he will be bringing Togedemaru and a Mandibuzz. Wow, there's a couple of Pokemon that you do not see that often.
Well, Togedemaru, I remember at the World Championships, I got the pleasure of casting a Togedemaru match, and Togedemaru ended up being the MVP because of how well it was played. It has a lot of supporting moves that it has available to it, like Encore. That's a little bit cheesy. It's a little bit fun. So I think that's a great example of how Togedemaru can be an asset in this particular team composition. But also, look at how decorated Javier is as a player.
Yeah, certainly. Just like Cesar, he has a couple of really good finishes at some of our international challenges before. And he also likes going on to the big ones. So he has played in the Oceania International Championships, top cut there. He made top 16 at the European International Championships, and then also top 16 at the North American International Championships, as well as a top 32 performance at the Pokemon World Championships. So he's been up there, and whenever he really enters a tournament, you can kind of expect him to finish amongst the like top 16 players, maybe higher. But he hasn't had that big event win, and yeah, that's probably what he's out for, to try and accomplish finally at his home tournament here.
Yeah, he's definitely itching for that win here, but I am very distracted by the Mandibuzz that's on screen right now.
Yeah, Mandibuzz is actually a Pokemon that he has used to great success for basically the entirety of this format. Back in, well, some of these other accomplishments we've seen from this format, he was actually also using a Xerneas, but not the regular Geomancy power version that we're used to. Instead, he was using a Choice Scarf Xerneas. So it looks like he swapped that out in favor of a Lunala, so I'm not really sure if that Pokemon is maybe also equipped with a Choice Scarf to boost the speed. but that's something that Javier is kind of known for, and you really have to watch out because some of these Pokemon, they're gonna pack some surprises. So it's already kind of surprising to see a Mandibuzz, but then you also don't really know what to expect from it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the Mandibuzz does, and if it's a Pokemon that he brings to this matchup, seeing as his opponent does have that Xerneas. So we do see 2 Steel-type Pokemon though on Javier's side, and he's been also known for kind of use some unorthodox Steel-type Pokemon to keep Xerneas in check, and then his other Pokemon like the Rayquaza or the Mandibuzz can then do all the damage they need.
This is going to be a very interesting matchup, particularly because I think all eyes right now are on that Mandibuzz and that Togedemaru. Do you feel as though Javier has a bit of an advantage because they weren't on stream?
Oh, well, the information advantage is probably going to be in Javier's side, and then on top of that, he also has some of those, well, surprises, potentially. So yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing as Cesar, on the other hand, opted to go for the more like standard team. With a composition that we've seen before in previous tournaments. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Javier has had an idea of how to play against these matchups even before potentially checking out Cesar's game of yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a standard core, I think, from Cesar's team that it's almost expected at this point how you have to play around it. But Javier, going ahead and kicking things off here with... It's going to be that Lunala there with that Tapu Fini, so Misty Surge already on the terrain, and a Lunala and a Kangaskhan here coming out from Cesar.
Yeah, so 2 Lunalas staring down each other, and one of them is though supported by that Kangaskhan, and if Kangaskhan decided to stay in the regular form and not Mega Evolve, it could keep the Scrappy ability and go for a Fake Out right away. Javier knows this though, and is deciding to swap out his Lunala right away. Yeah,
Lunala for the Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz, that Pokemon that we had some eyes on before, but it is going to get faked out here, so as it comes in, not too much that's really going to happen here, except for a Muddy Water now coming out from the Tapu Fini that's going to be able to hit both of Cesar's Pokemon, and if in case you missed it, Cesar did get a chance to get Tailwind up.
Yeah, so with that Tailwind, of course, Cesar is looking to get the speed advantage into his favor. Maybe he was kind of expecting something like a Choice Scarf to be on the Lunala of Javier's side and wanted to kind of stop that from being a thing. So he didn't want to really give Javier a chance to surprise him with some of these item choices. And yeah, instead, setting up the Tailwind, getting the speed control into his hands, and now he will be looking to put a lot of pressure on Javier's Pokemon.
Switching out to Lunala, do you feel like that is a way to reposition the board right now to save the Lunala a bit for later? Or do you feel like this is now kind of Cesar being in the driver's seat by having that Tailwind up?
Well, Cesar now will Mega Evolve his Kangaskhan, so he will lose the Scrappy ability, and therefore for the rest of the game, Kangaskhan will not be able to go for a Fake Out on the Lunala on Javier's side. So I would think that Javier would probably try to set up a counter Tailwind with his own Mandibuzz, as that is something that Mandibuzz is capable of doing. And we are seeing some Protect here, but Bite actually coming out from the Kangaskhan into the Mandibuzz.
Wow.
And Cesar is trying to go for that flinch here. We've been talking about this yesterday. Bite, a pretty common move, but nope, just the foul play coming out. Targeted into that Kangaskhan though.
Targeted into the Kangaskhan, and Kangaskhan did get a critical hit from the Bite, but that foul play putting Kangaskhan within striking range, potentially of another Muddy Water coming out.
Yeah, certainly. And Mandibuzz did not go for the Tailwind that we were kind of expecting, but it also did not go for the damage on Lunala. So that's kind of awkward now because Javier, I'm pretty sure, knows his damage calculations with the Mandibuzz. But then for Cesar, on the other hand, you do not face Mandibuzz that often. You're probably not really sure, is it equipped with one of those, say, like a Papa Berry that could restore a lot of health? And I'm not sure if a combination of Lunala's Z move plus Double Edge would be enough to get the knockout through that potential berry. So yeah, it's really difficult for Cesar to now know how much damage he can really do here, or do you want to target down the Tapu Fini that just protected? So he has to decide which target he wants to go for. He does have the speed advantage, and he will probably look to get a KO this turn.
Okay, well, it's going to be the Double Edge into the Mandibuzz, which is going to tell us a lot of information, and there is that Pinch Berry. So Mandibuzz regaining half of its health all the way back up, almost to full here with that Papa Berry, and this is going to be critical because Kangaskhan taking the knockout here but is it worth it?
Yeah, and Lunala does not have a move to hit Mandibus for a lot of damage. Is going for a Moongeist Beam here. This might be doubling up into the Mandibus. Yep, it is. So Cesar wanted to go for that damage in case there was not a berry, but even then it could have been close. However, it looks like Javier with his Tapu Fini and Mandibus, an unlikely duo there, doubling up on the Lunala for the knockout. So Javier, well, he has just had a Tapu Fini and a Mandibus on the field against a Mega Kangaskhan and a Lunala, but in the end, Tapu Fini and Mandibus come out on top, and Cesar wasn't really able to do a lot of damage under Tailwind, only has a couple of turns left now, and yeah, Javier looking in a fantastic spot here.
Yeah, he's looking at a great spot, particularly because you don't really get a chance to see Tapu Fini do too much more than just support its partner, but it was able to do some big damage there, and now Cesar is left with the Xerneas and the Incineroar. So Incineroar is pressuring some of that fake out, but are we really even going to be able to see this Geomancy get set up here with what Javier has in store?
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's one Pokemon that really can turn a game around like that in a 2-against-4 situation, and that is Xerneas.
Yeah.
So if he is able to set up that Geomancy without his opponent doing something about that, then that would be, of course, really good. However, I think that Javier might have some tricks up on his sleeve to stop that from happening. So one thing you have to expect or kind of like keep in mind is that Tapu Fini often runs Haze, and on a team as Javier's, getting rid of the boosts on his Xerneas is really going to be so important, because you have Pokemon like that Mandibus and Rayquaza that are really weak to Xerneas. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Haze to be a thing on that Tapu Fini, but hold that thought, we're actually seeing a Z-move coming out. So that's going to be the Hydro Vortex, and that will probably knock out the Incineroar right away.
Wow, that would mean that Xerneas is left to defend for itself. Hydro Vortex going to connect with that Incineroar, and we're looking at some big damage onto this Fire Cat.
Wow, and it's a clean one-hit knockout, and Javi really dominating this first game with Mandibus and Tapu Fini. It's been a while since I have seen that duo to great success. Now, Tailwind also peters out for Cesar, so he's now left with the Xerneas. He did not, well, he did manage to set up that Geomancy, so he is very powerful and can do a lot of damage the following turns. But we also still have one more Pokemon remaining for Javier. He still has the Lunala, Shadow Shield is still active, so even if it gets hit by one of those boosted attacks, it won't do that much damage. And now Tapu Fini could have an opportunity to go for Haze if it carries that.
Well, the champion of this match, the Mandibuzz, does get knocked out here by the boosted Dazzling Gleam from the Xerneas. Misty Terrain now off of the field, and Xerneas really takes that Moonblast from that Tapu Fini on the chin here.
Wow, and no Haze coming out, but it's not going to be Rayquaza. Instead, we're seeing a Metagross join the field as the last Pokemon for Javier, and that is definitely one Pokemon that you want to see in a situation like this. And yeah, I think it's probably pretty safe to call that Javier is going to win this. However, he wants to make absolutely sure that there's no chance for like a critical hit to come out from the Xerneas to knock out the Metagross. So instead, he's just going to protect, maybe let his Tapu Fini get knocked out, but then he gets a chance to switch in his Lunala uncontestedly.
Yeah, very free.
And then, well, even with a critical hit, the Xerneas wouldn't be able to deal with both of them at the same time.
Yeah, looks like this is going to be a tough one for Cesar to come back through. Is going to have to search for that critical hit, but I gotta commend Javier for how well they read that Cesar was going for that Geomancy setup. It left Incineroar very free because you knew that they were going to go for that fake out. But to kick things off for potentially the last couple of turns here, Metagross Mega Evolving and Xerneas going for a Moonblast. Single targeted attack here.
Yeah, he's trying to fish, as we were saying, for the critical hit. Does not get it, and with Psyshock and then potentially an Iron Head or something similar, that could be the end of the Xerneas. And we're actually seeing Lunala just outspat that Mega Metagross, so maybe it is holding that Choice Scarf after all, or that Metagross is just trained to be really bulky. But nevertheless, Javier is going to win that first game.
That first game going in Javier's favor, but I feel like Cesar walked away with a lot of information that was necessary to know to really adjust for that second game, particularly Mandibuzz carrying that Pinch Berry, and the fact that there is a Metagross that contests a lot of that pressure that Xerneas puts out.
So, Well, Cesar really has to kind of respect what is going on there with that Mandibus maybe a little more. Cernia is definitely the Pokemon that you want to have against that Mandibus. So I think for that second game, as players are thinking about what is going on and while we're setting up that second game, Cernia's probably could come earlier for Cesar as he brought it in the back. Led off with Lunala and Kangaskhan, those two Pokemon that did not have a particularly good matchup against that Mandibus. So instead, maybe he could try to set up his Xerneas a little bit earlier than what we just saw in that game, and then try to deal with the Mandibus before the Lunala hits the field.
Yeah, it would be good to see that Xerneas get set up maybe a little bit sooner, but I also kind of wonder if you want to leave the Lunala at home. I don't know.
Yeah, Javier has shown us that you do not need to bring both your restricted Pokemon in a game like this, as he did leave his Rayquaza on the bench and instead brought that Mega Metagross, which was actually the key Pokemon in the end to take home the win for him. Because you gotta think, if he brought the Rayquaza instead, well, that's a Dragon-type Pokemon, cannot really deal that well with the Xerneas, especially once it's boosted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good thing there that Javier kind of identifying what he needed to do to win the game. He knew that even if the Xerneas got set up, he still had his Metagross in the back, and yeah, that worked out pretty well for him.
I think that turn 0 was really important, and turn 1 particularly for Javier to be able to reposition the board, save his Lunala for later, and then very confidently using Mandibuzz and Tapu Fini to just wipe Cesar's board.
Yeah, certainly, and I don't think that's something that Cesar really expected, because usually Tapu Fini and Mandibuzz, two Pokemon that are more like supportive, you know, they want to set up maybe a light screen or get the speed control with Icy Wind and Tailwind, but nope, we haven't seen anything of that. Tapu Fini of Javier was full out on offense, just going for Moonblast, Muddy Water, and then also that Hydro Vortex. So yeah, that probably surprised Cesar quite a big deal. But now we are able to jump straight into Game 2, and we'll see what both of these players decide to change up.
I wonder if Javier really wants to change up anything at this point because of how well that Game 1 went.
Yeah.
But it really is about thinking about how is my opponent going to adjust to what I did, and how can I outmaneuver them for the second game.
Certainly. So one thing that Cesar could try and do is, as we were saying, lead off with that Xerneas, but then you have to worry. Your opponent, well, Javier, has both a Mega Metagross as well as that Togedemaru, two Steel-type Pokemon that can really deal very well with a Xerneas. But on the other hand, as Javier, you really want to bring all of these Pokemon. You know, the Tapu Koko on Cesar's side did not come for the first game, but if that was a thing in the second game, you would really want that Togedemaru for the Lightning Rod ability to draw away these electric type attacks. So even in Javier's shoes, of course, it's gonna be great. You just won the first game, but you really gotta try and adapt or predict what your opponent is gonna do. And if he just did the same thing again, I think maybe Cesar has a plan to stop that.
It looks like Cesar is already making some adjustments here. An Amoonguss now on the field, which is going to be paired with that Lunala to help support it. But Javier also making some good reads here. Togedemaru hitting the field.
Yep, so Togedemaru joining the field for the very first time. Of course, we've had a great showing with Togedemaru at the Pokemon World Championships, where it was able to claim the title in the Seniors Division. Now also making it to the very big stage here in the top 8 at the Latin America International Championships. Of course, there's no Tapu Koko from Cesar's side, and yeah, Javier would have loved to see that, I bet. But instead, the Lunalas are probably now trying to battle it out, though Cesar wants to stop the fake out from Togedemaru coming out, as that move can only be used in the very first turn, and then also scout out what the Lunala is doing, as we kind of have a good idea that what its item could be. And if it's that Choice Scarf, it has to make a choice. It went for the Moongeist Beam, and yeah, if it has Choice Scarf, then it's got to do that again until it's switched out.
Do you feel like Javier is going to keep that Lunala in now, knowing that they've walked into the Moongeist Beam?
Well, of course, Cesar could go for a Rage Powder to draw away all the attention, and that is exactly what he's going to do. We have seen Helping Hand coming out from the Togedemaru, and it's just the Moongeist Beam, so no Z-move coming out from the Lunala, and I think that a Moongeist will be able to take this attack, and then Cesar can retaliate and strike back with his own Lunala, targeting down his opponent's Lunala, but no, we're just seeing Tailwind being set up for Cesar, so he wants to have the speed advantage. I think this might have been a little bit of a missed opportunity here for him, as he could have gone for a powerful Ghost-type attack into his opponent's Lunala. Maybe he was a little afraid of Manibus coming in for Javier once again.
I feel as though the Tailwind, it didn't work out quite the way we were hoping that it would for Game 1, but for this Game 2, maybe Cesar has a plan to adjust. And I would like to see maybe this Amoonguss maybe go for a Spore in this next instance, or switch out and get a bit better positioning here for Cesar.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that Cesar decided to go with that Amoonguss, as Javier's two Pokemon that really did a lot in the previous game were Tapu Fini and Mandibuzz. Both of them have abilities that prevent them from being put asleep, as Tapu Fini now will come in, set up the Misty Terrain, and yeah, therefore no Spores will be allowed for that Amoonguss for a while.
Ooh. No Spores for the Amoonguss, so maybe this was a great read on Javier's part, but it is time for another Z move. This time coming out from Cesar's Lunala. Was it the Lunala slot that it targeted, though? Was this the missed opportunity that we were talking about with this menacing Moonraze Maelstrom?
Yeah, there's no Mandibuzz coming in this time around, so no matter where these moves go, it'll do a lot of damage. Actually, yes, targeting down what was the Lunala is now the Tapu Fini, and Tapu Fini is a pretty bulky Pokemon, but we have seen Javier probably deciding to go a little bit more on the offensive side, and yeah, this will do a lot of damage.
He's going to do a lot of damage, but Tapu Fini holds on, will be able to hold on, and because of the Tapu Fini switch in, not only does it take that Z move, but it also prevents the Spore from the Amoonguss. Togedemaru able to get a little bit of chip damage, breaking the Shadow Shield on Lunala.
Yeah, breaking the Shadow Shield, definitely nice, of course. Now, the Tapu Fini, while it's great with the Misty Terrain to stop Amoonguss from putting stuff to sleep, Togedemaru also really loves to nuzzle around and paralyze some Pokemon. That also doesn't work now. Something that's interesting to note about that turn is the fact that Amoonguss outsped Togedemaru. Of course, it's under Tailwind, but Amoonguss, even under Tailwind, usually a pretty slow Pokemon, now indicating that this is a really speedy Amoonguss.
That means it's trained in that speed, which might mean that it's lacking in some other areas, right?
Yeah, certainly.
And it might have been a bit of maybe the bulk there, because that Amoonguss took a lot of damage from that Moongeist Beam, even with the Helping Hand.
Yep.
Incineroar, though, coming in to get an Intimidate onto both of these Pokemon really affects Togedemaru a bit more than it's going to affect the Tapu Fini.
Yeah, and Lunala on Cesar's side, just going for the Moongeist Beam. That will probably finish off the Tapu Fini, as Javier did not protect or switched out. And yes, yeah, great pickup there by Cesar, as now he will be in the Pokemon advantage. And another Zing Zap, well, it'll do a little bit of chip damage, but since Lunala is faster, Togedemaru will not have the chance to get a flinch there. And yeah, Togedemaru just not really doing a whole lot the past few turns, as now the last and final Pokemon for Javier is coming out. It is that Metagross that did so well in the first game, but yeah, there's no Xerneas on the field as of yet, and Lunala still has a strong board presence, and yeah, I feel like Cesar is in a pretty decent spot now.
Yeah, he still has 4 very healthy Pokemon, except for the Amoonguss that did take that Helping Hand Moongeist Beam, but it's going to be a pretty safe turn here from Javier, maybe just stalling out that last bit of Tailwind.
Yep, and also preventing any Fake Out coming out. Spiky Shield will do a little bit of chip damage to that Incineroar that tried to go for a U-turn there. And yeah, Tailwind petered out, so now Javier might have the speed advantage back with his Mega Metagross if he decides to go for that Mega Evolution. And also, for the Amoonguss, we also got to keep in mind that with the Regenerator ability, it's actually able to regenerate some of that health over time. So as this battle is prolonging, Cesar might have some opportunities to switch that back in and out, as he did in the previous stream game that we saw of him yesterday.
Javier is going to go for the Mega Evolution there on the Metagross, potentially going for a big attack here because Togedemaru is using Helping Hand.
Oh, this is a big turn for Javier. He really needs to get this knockout on, I would guess, the Lunala. Yep, there it is. And it is enough for the KO. Yeah, this was really big, because if that hadn't KO'd, then Lunala would have been free to go for a Moongeist Beam, knock out this Mega Metagross, and then Javier would have been down to only his last 2 remaining Pokemon. Now, Cesar does get to U-turn out with his Incineroar and will get the opportunity to bring it right back in for an Intimidate, as now as Mega Metagross, well, it Mega Evolved, it will not have the Clear Body ability anymore, so Intimidate will be able to drop its attack stat. You really gotta make use of these couple of turns now, though, because well, Amoonguss still not the best Pokemon in the situation as the Misty Terrain is up, and then the Xerneas that we would expect to be the last Pokemon for Cesar also not in a great spot against 2 Steel types. So the Incineroar on Cesar's side really has to carry a lot of weight, I feel, in the next couple of turns.
I feel like Cesar's going to have to switch out Xerneas potentially. Javi has been playing so aggressively within this game, going for a lot of big moves, a lot of big damage, and has been playing really brazenly. So I don't think that Xerneas is really safe on the board right now.
Yeah, not at all. Cesar could go for a Rage Powder to try and draw away the attention, or he could maybe go for a, say, like protect the Xerneas and then swap in his Incineroar, as that is exactly what we're seeing, I think. So that way he will get another round of regeneration on Amoonguss, potentially also getting back to full health, and then that way he could reactivate his Focus Sash, which was not broken yet. And so it's a really nice play. He could have done the same thing by just switching in Incineroar and Xerneas the previous turn, but he wanted to get out that Amoonguss because he knew he was just going for a safe play. Protect the Xerneas, swap in the Incineroar. That will, maybe Incineroar takes a little bit of chip damage, but at the same time, Amoonguss then also regenerates a lot. So nicely done there by Cesar, who now brings in Incineroar next to the Xerneas and is in a decent spot. And something else that I think is interesting to note is the fact that on Javier's side, Incineroar is really giving him a lot of trouble. He probably relies a lot on his Tapu Fini to get the knockout with the Hydro Vortex, but Cesar identifying that and targeting it down pretty early. Now, yeah, Javier will have a hard time to deal with that Incineroar.
Yeah, especially because you've got 2 Steel types that still exist in Javier's Pokemon.
And Magic Room coming out.
Okay, I was gonna say here, we don't have the Misty Terrain anymore, so yes, Amoonguss is going to be ever more potent in this match, but Magic Room.
Yeah, interesting choice that we usually see on Choice Scarf Tapu Lele, because it not only cancels out your own Choice Scarf and then allows you to switch up your moves, turning off the hindering technicalities of a Choice Scarf that you're like choiced in a move, but it also stops, of course, items like that Power Herb on Xernea's side to really do the big effect and enable Geomancy to be used in only one turn. So Cesar's plan must have changed big times now, because he was probably hoping to maybe set up the Xerneas and set itself up for a sweep, but now he would have to wait for 4 more turns until Power Herb could activate.
Javier played that so well because he could tell that Cesar was looking at the opportunity to set up the Xerneas for the Geomancy and said, you know what? Let me show you another trick that I have up my sleeve. Here's the Magic Room that you were not expecting to be on this Lunala. And now Cesar really has to play it safe, going for the Protect onto the Xerneas. And now we're seeing another Z move come out, this time from the Togedemaru.
Okay, well, that is not something that I expected at all. But we will see the Electring Z powering up that Gigavolt Havoc. And Togedemaru, usually also one of those Pokemon that is very supportive, just like the Tapu Fini on Javier's side. Now firing off this move, it won't do that much damage here to the Xerneas as it protected, but still, maybe for a potential Game 3, that's something to keep in mind, and yeah, that's a cool tech.
That's very, very cool. We don't really get a chance to see that at all. Togedemaru tends to run something because a little bit different because of how frail it can kind of be.
Focus Sash is a very common item, and yeah, interesting to see whether then it actually has the sturdy ability to kind of like trick Tapu Koko users into not using their electric type attacks in case it has Lightning Rod, so that's always an interesting mind game that is going on. But it looks like Cesar, maybe for the next couple of turns, he just wants to maybe switch in and out again to maybe stall out for that Magic Room, and then also he did not want to get his Xerneas either paralyzed by a Nuzzle or potentially Encored into Protect. So yeah, nice switch by Cesar, and we're actually just seeing Helping Hand Moongeist Beam coming out from Javier's side.
Helping Hand Moongeist Beam did a lot of damage to the Amoonguss before, and you're getting a chance to see that again with the regenerative ability, though. The Amoonguss is going to be able to live because it was at that full health, but now that it's at 33 hit points, you know, that's going to be a tough one to survive through, especially if that Amoonguss did have that Focus Sash.
Yeah, all that health that Amoonguss worked for so hard by swapping in and out is now gone once again, but Amoonguss is still around and could use that regenerator ability again and again. Now Xerneas coming back on the field again. It could go for a big damaging move, as he knows that Lunala really unlikely carries Protect, as we have seen the Choice Scarf being the item of choice there on Javier's side. So maybe a Moongaze Beam, maybe a Moonblast would do a decent chunk of damage into that slot. But then at the same time, Javier could also just switch out back into his Mega Metagross as he's not under a lot of pressure. And while, yeah, Misty Terrain ran out, so this Moongaze could have gone for a Spore. It didn't do it, and now, well, at such low HP, yeah, Cesar would probably need to swap it out a couple of times, and that's exactly what he's doing.
Well, at least he gets the Intimidate as that is able to come out with the Incineroar, so that's going to help out just a bit, particularly with that Togedemaru that really does like to go for that Zing Zap. But it doesn't really do too much against the Lunala, which is just a pretty good special attacker here. Xerneas protecting itself does not want to be on the receiving end of a Moongeist Beam, but the Moongeist Beam was trying to pick up the knockout onto the Amoonguss, and now Incineroar having to take that on its switch in.
But Incineroar being the bulky Dark-type Pokemon that it is, really takes that move relatively well, and Javier making a nice play, also doubling up with that Zing Zap. And yeah, we were saying Incineroar is really the one Pokemon that keeps Cesar in this game, as it has a positive matchup against all three of the remaining Pokemon of Javier. So now he brought it into a position where it can do a ton of damage. It could go for, say, a Dark-type attack into the Lunala, and either the Lunala stays in and faints, or it switches out into the Mega Metagross, which is a Psychic-type Pokemon. So that would also take super effective damage. And yeah, I think Cesar, at some point he has to capitalize on his Incineroar's strong position on the board, and he needs to start going for some damage. His passive play the last couple of turns, he was really trying to get that Regenerator back and regenerate some health on that Amoonguss, quite literally, but it didn't really work out that well so far, and I think he finally needs to go for a big move. Maybe this turn is the time.
Maybe this turn would be the time. Incineroar hasn't shown us too much more than having the ability to fake out. Psyshock, though, into the Amoonguss will be able to pick up the knockout here, so that is one supportive Pokemon that has been removed from this matchup. Zing Zap once again going into the Incineroar slot, but U-turn now coming out from Incineroar.
Once again, just the U-turn, potentially breaking the sturdy ability on Togedemaru with a little bit of chip damage, but once again, I'm not quite sure if that is going to be enough for him, as we have yet to see Incineroar's item. So maybe if it carries one of the Pinch Berries, then that would be a way for him to regenerate some health back. But now, Magic Room is off, so it was nicely timed there by Cesar, as now he will be able to go for something like a Fake Out potentially into Togedemaru, but Lunala's Choice Scarf is also reactivated again, which is something that is important to keep in mind. So Lunala will be able to outspeed Xerneas. It should be locked into Psyshock now, as that was the last move that it used, so it cannot just go for another Magic Room. But at the same time, Xerneas will probably take a lot of damage, and then we still have two Steel-type Pokemon left for Javier. So it looks like Cesar kind of putting all his eggs in one basket, trying to go all in with that Xerneas. And if this doesn't work, then... Oh, actually, I wasn't quite aware of that mechanic. It looks like Lunala is actually free to switch up his move once again, and is not forced to go with a Psyshock. Well, I must have misremembered that. Anyway, Cesar seemingly also didn't know that, and now is forced to be locked into, well, yeah, Geomancy for another turn.
Wow. This is a very interesting turn of events here, because Cesar really looked like they were in the driver's seat had they been able to get that Geomancy up and in one turn. But now Javier going for a finishing move here with the helping hand coming out from Togedemaru will be able to aid this Lunala in trying to pick up the knockout here against this Xerneas.
Yeah, and with Psych Shock being a special type attack that actually hits on the physical defense, the special defense boost on Xerneas will not matter, and that is a decent chunk of damage, even though, well, Xerneas just used the Geomancy. Cesar now is able to get a knockout on Togedemaru with Flare Blitz, and finally going for some damaging move on that Incineroar will take a lot of recoil, and no berry activates.
No berry activating because of the Magic Room, and this leaves a very interesting predicament here for Cesar. Do you go for a Flare Blitz onto the Metagross to see if you can knock it out, but maybe risk getting knocked out yourself, and then that leaves you vulnerable, that leaves your Xerneas vulnerable against this Lunala?
Yeah, we haven't seen Javier's Metagross's moveset yet, and if it carries Bullet Punch, then that would be one option to, just like the Lunala is ignoring the defense boosts, then Bullet Punch with its increased priority would kind of ignore the speed boost that Xerneas has. But no, instead we're just seeing a Moonblast coming out from the Xerneas, targeting down the Metagross, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the knockout.
No, it's not very effective here. So Metagross able to fire back with an Iron Head, actually targeting down the Incineroar, so removing the one Pokemon that really had a good chance of really contesting Javier's team.
Yeah, and Lunala not going for the Side Shock this time around, just the Moongeist Beam, so I think Xerneas will actually be able to hang in there. I think Javier was doubling up into the Incineroar, so no matter which target the Xerneas chose, even if it was to, say, get the critical hit and potentially knock out Metagross, Lunala still would have been able to get the knockout on the Incineroar, so he wouldn't lose right there and then. But now, Protect just trying to stall out some more moves, and yep, Bullet Punch is the move of choice on the Metagross, so even with all the Geomancy boosts, wow, I think this one's going to Javier once again.
Wow, Javier showing us how much they've practiced this creative team composition and how effective it really is. Metagross going for the Bullet Punch, trying to pick up the knockout here. The last little bit of HP from Xerneas, whittling away Javier, our very first trainer to move on to the top 4.
Wow, and after so many great finishes at previous international championships, we've seen it on his player profile before. Top 16 at the European International Championships, top 8 before at the Oceanian International Championships, but now finally he makes it into that top 4. He will go home with a trophy, of course, and still has the chance to be the victor of this tournament.
Cesar, though, put up an incredible show for this Latin American International Championships, and I am so happy that we got a chance to watch him not once, but twice on stream.
Yeah, really, really great play by Javier with his, as you were saying, really creative team, creative approach. Every single one of those Pokemon had something that we didn't expect. It was the Togedemaru there with the Electrium Z, then the Tapu Fini also carrying that Z move, and then the Choice Scarf Lunala with a Magic Room and a Choice Scarf. Wow, yeah, with that interaction, looks like he also had the information advantage, kind of knowing how that one would play out. And yeah, he was really relaxed during this entire time, where Javier was desperately trying to stall out the Magic Room to get his Xerneas into a position where it could use Geomancy. But yeah, the Lunala gaining back the Choice Scarf and gaining back the speed. It's kind of unfair if you think about that. It gained back the speed, but then it was free to once again lock into a different move. So yeah, great play by Javier, identifying that this combination actually enables Lunala to take on Xerneas. And yeah, really deserved victory there, in my opinion.
Yeah, that was really good. But again, Cesar made so many critical adjustments for that game too, where he did look like he was going to take the game. He had the Incineroar putting out so much pressure against the Pokemon that Javier had left, and I think that really speaks volumes to how Cesar is as a player for Pokemon.
Definitely, and also bringing in that Amoonguss and really using its Regenerator ability to kind of play itself out of that situation where he had already taken so much damage, but then just a very methodical approach there, switching it in and out, also using Incineroar's U-turn to add up to that flexibility. But in the end, well, yeah, Javier just had one more trick up his sleeve to kind of stop the plans that Cesar had put in place. And yeah, again, I'm really looking forward to seeing what Javier can do in our semifinals.
Well, I think all eyes are going to be on Javier, especially from the other trainers that are gearing up for their top 8 matches, because it's possible they have to fight against Javier themselves. So all the information that they can get is going to be a benefit to them moving into their potential top 8 and top 4 matches.
Certainly, and then once again going back to that first game where Tapu Fini and Mandibuzz did so much work and
oh my goodness, Mandibuzz.
Yeah, really kind of destroying the Lunala and Kangaskhan combination of Cesar. But then for the second game, Javier decided that he didn't need to go for the same strategy again, instead bringing in the Togedemaru into the picture and yeah, leaving that Mandibuzz on the bench for that. So yeah, really nicely done, though also on the other hand, Cesar, he was just leading off with Amoonguss and Lunala. Those are two Pokemon that do not particularly enjoy facing up against a Mandibuzz, so maybe he was also kind of expecting a switch of strategy there by Javier. So that really just goes to show how high level these players are and how, well, how much or how far forward they're thinking with their strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could tell that both of those trainers were like 3 or 4 steps ahead in their planning, but it just felt like Javier was even like a 5th step ahead in some cases. Just knowing that the Xerneas setup was happening for the Geomancy, getting the Magic Room up, knowing how to come back when the Magic Room eventually went down. It was just so well executed on Javier's part.
Definitely, and yeah, it really also goes to show that even with a format like this, where we have had the Pokemon World Championships already, there's always still some room for creativity. With that combination of Rayquaza and Lunala that has seen a lot of hype leading up to the Pokemon World Championships, but then wasn't quite able to perform super well there. And then, well, he's just putting on his own twist. He's bringing in the Mandibuzz and the Togedemaru, as well as that Mega Metagross, some of the Pokemon that others probably were not quite looking into, as they haven't really done that much in the past, but he really saw their potential and how they really interact with each other, and how, even though, well, of course, with a Tapu Fini next to the Togedemaru, you cannot just go for the nozzles, which is usually the strategy that Togedemaru goes for. But instead, well, he just had his own ways and his own strategy to make it work regardless.
Well, let's head to stage 2, break down a little bit more about those interesting techs.
Well, thank you, Rose. Thank you, Marcus. I'm standing here next to Javier. Hello, Javier. First of all, congratulations. You top cut like every international so far, and finally you did top cut in your home international. How does it feel?
Well, feel really great. For me, LAIC was a really hard tournament. I have a really good results in Nike and Berlin this year, but LAIC is always really hard. I don't know, maybe people know how I play. it's hard to tell you, but yeah, finally I cut my internats, and well, top 4 right now, so very happy.
Well, congratulations on that one. You really deserve it. Like, you brought a really creative team to this tournament, and the viewers out there saw like you picked Mandibuzz as kind of an anti-meta game pick, right? How do you feel with Mandibuzz up your team?
Yeah, it's a really good Pokemon. Mandibuzz is like an Yveltal, but in junior mode. So it's really good because I can burn the restricted slot and have a Pokemon that's kind of similar. So yeah, it's a really good call because, well, a lot of Lunala, Ultra Necrozma is, I faced like 3 or 4 Ultra Necrozma teams, so really good. And yeah, the support, the tailwind, and well, it's a really underrated and good mon.
I can see. Another really, let's say, niche pick is that Choice Scarf Lunala with Magic Room. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, honestly, I ran a lot of moves in the Choice Scarf, and Magic Room was the last I considered. I consider a lot of another moves because Lunala have a really good move pool, so you can choose from Moonblast, Ice Beam, Focus Blast. You have a lot of trick. Actually, it's a really good mon. Magic Room was okay, maybe can be useful in some matchups, in some circumstances, and well, you saw this was a really good.
Yeah, we've seen loads of Xerneas out there, and I think it's gonna be a really good pick. But since we got a really tight schedule, and we're going to show loads of games, we are going into a short break so you can prepare for your last matches. I'm wishing you good luck for the rest of the tournament. We are hopping into a short break and be right back afterwards.